Howdy folks, Troy with V-Twins to V8s. I'm back on the paint project. So just to give you where we're at, I primed all my pieces, guide coated them and blocked them all out 2 times. So I got really nice surfaces to put my paint job down over. So I'm preparing now to get ready for my exterior paint job, but I do have the inside tunnel of the tank and the inside of my fender that I want to take care of. Same with my rear fenders over here out of the line of the camera. So what I've done is it's already been primed with some anti-corrosive primer. I took a red scuff pad like this. I scuff padded the inside. I do have the area in here where I had welded the bracket to the fender. So I'm going to put a little seam sealer in there. And then these pieces, I'm going to put some tape and some paper on the outside of them, and I'm just going to flat black the inside of this because my paint job's going to be black, but I just want to have this be clean. I don't really want to get into spending a whole lot of time putting down base coat and clear coat and everything on the inside of a fender that nobody's ever going to see. It just never really made any sense to me. But I am going to tape it off, and I'm going to trim black it so it's got a nice, semi-gloss kind of black look on the inside. Same with the inside of my tunnel. So I'm going to tape this off, I'm going to get that stuff primed up, and then after that's set up, I'll get my garage prepped, I'll get my jigs in here and everything, I'll get my fenders and tank mounted and get ready for paint. At that point, I'll come back on and I'll show you what I've done, where I'm at, and then we'll put the black base coat down. Okay folks, so here I am with my parts. What I did was I sprayed the inside of these pieces with SEM Trim Black. It just gives it a satin black finish. It's nice and quick and easy, cleans everything up. I'm going to paint my gloss black on the outside. This will be not really visible, but when you look under there, it'll look very acceptable. I'm going to grab the camera, I'll show you what's going on. Yeah, this is my tunnel and everything here. This is the inside of my fender. You can see here where I spread my seam sealer where I did my welding. Just kind of cleans the area up. This is my back fender here. You can see I just kind of blacked out the inside of it. So now that I have that done, I'll let this dry pretty good. I'm going to prep my garage and get ready to put all of these items that I'm going to paint on fixtures, on stands, so that I can get it painted. Once I have that set, I'll come back and I'll go through the whole paint process with you. We'll get some base coat on these today. Okay folks, so I'm back. I've got my garage has been blown out. I wet the floor down and all the edges of the walls and nooks and crannies and everything with a hose. Seal the dust down. I took my bench here, I covered it with masking paper, and my fixtures that I have my fenders on, I covered those with masking paper. I've taken my fenders and got them all mounted and everything. What I did just for a last minute precaution was I took a red scuff pad and I went quickly over my fenders. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some compressed air in the air hose, and I'm going to blow all of my fixture, my fenders, all the little nooks and crannies, make sure that I can blow out all the dust or maybe even a little bit of water or something that might have been in there when I wet sanded them, things of that nature. So I'll get that all squared away. Then I will wash it with some pre-cleaner, and at that point I'll be pretty much ready to go. I'll get my gun all set, my paint all set, and then we'll put some base to this. Okay folks, so I got everything blown off. I washed everything with pre-cleaner, looked it over really good. I'm good to go. So I've got my garage all set, we're closed up, lights are on, I'm going to turn the exhaust fan on. I've got my gun set up, I got my base coat, I'll show you everything and give you a little close-up of what I got going on here. Okay, so here's my tank, I got it set up on this jig, and I've done this in the past, it just kind of works out good. I put it on this 2x4, and then I attach it with screws on one end, and I just let it sit on the other end, and what I can actually do here is I can take this tank and I can flip it like this, so I can actually get my bottom side really good if I want to. Okay, and then I can flip it back like that, so it's like that. So it kind of seesaws back and forth. So I've got that set up over here. I've got my fender on my jig that I have made here, and I got my other fender on this jig. I got my spray gun, and I got my base coat. So I've mixed up my base coat. This is Sherwin-Williams Dimension. The mixing ratio is 2 parts of the base, 1 part of the reducer. I'm going to put down 2 to 3 medium coats on the surface. I'm going to take a tack rag. I'm going to tack these pieces off. I'm going to get my fan going. I'm going to get my paint strained into the gun, and I'm going to put a coat of base on here. Now, the idea is not to try and coat, not to cover your piece in one coat, okay? You just put an even coat on it. You're going to be able to see through it. Don't panic. Put that on. You're going to want this to flash depending upon your environment. I mean, we're at about 75, 80 degrees here, which is pretty much perfect. I'll let it flash for probably 10 to 15 minutes. You'll notice it'll go to a matte, flat finish. Once you get that, just keep an eye on when you finish your coat, when you finished the last of your application. Wait 10 or 15 minutes, put another coat on. 3 coats, you should be covered. Once you are done, or you think you're done with your 3rd coat, what I would recommend is let that flash, go around, look at all of your edges, bottom sides, undersides, everywhere to make sure you don't have any areas that don't have enough paint. Because once you put the clear on it, you're done. Otherwise, you start the whole process all over again. So 5 or 10 minutes to check for any areas that aren't covered. Take your gun, just dust in those areas. It's going to make a big difference because it's happened to every painter. You paint something and all of a sudden you got a little edge or something after it's all said and done because you didn't hit it in a certain angle, and now you notice it and it doesn't have enough paint on it and you're screwed. You got to sand the whole thing down and paint it again. So don't get caught with that. Make sure you check your edges. I'm going to apply this base coat and I'll come back on afterwards and we'll talk about clear coating. Now, if you kind of look at it, I don't know how close the camera is or if you can really see it, but it's black, but it kind of looks like interior latex. It's very flat. This is the way the base coat lays down. I ended up putting 3 coats on. I checked my edges. I touched up a few spots. Now I'm good to go. There's a few things you can do from here. I could put an Intercoat clear down and then do my tape outs and do my designs from there, or I could put regular urethane clear down and really seal this black down and then sand that and figure out where I'm going to go. I've chosen the latter. I want to put some urethane on this, get this sealed down really good until I figure out what it is that I want to do for a graphic on here. So I mixed up some Sherwin 930 clear. It's a really fast clear. I'm just going to put a couple of quick coats on, just enough to provide a barrier over this base coat because it has to be clear coated, and it's going to be a barrier so that once it's dry and I sand it, I can tape out on it. It won't leave any tape marks. When I tape out my paint and I spray my other color, if I get a little blow through on this black, I'll be able to just wash it off or sand it off with no problem. With the Intercoat clear, it's a little bit softer and it's a little bit more susceptible to solvents and things of that nature. I wanted something to really lock this down, so I'm going to go ahead and spray these all 2 coats of clear, and then we'll just let it dry, and then probably tomorrow I'll sand them down with some 600 and we'll figure out what we're going to do for a graphic. Hi folks, Troy with V-Twins to V8s. I'm back. My project is now painted black and then clear coated with a couple of coats of urethane clear. So now I have a nice solid, clear, smooth surface to deal with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit for a day. I got another little project I'm working on. Then I'm going to take and sand this down with some 600 wet, and then I can lay out whatever graphic design I decide on. I'm either going to do flames or I'm going to do scallops. Flames, pretty self-explanatory. Scallops, you've probably seen them. They kind of look like points. There's like scalloped out and then they come down a point, so I'm thinking maybe something like that. I haven't really committed to anything, so right now I'm kind of in that thought process. I got another Evel Knievel helmet that I'm painting, so while I'm working on that, my wheels can be grinding away coming up with something. So I'm going to grab the camera and I'm going to show you what this stuff looks like. Here's our tank, looking pretty good considering that that nasty looking thing we've been banging and hammering and grinding on. So there's our tank. We'll come over here. Here's our fender. Now you can notice that our fender really looks pretty stock and original, except for you no longer see those rivets over here, so it gives it a very nice, smooth, clean look to it. but you still see the bracket and the angle coming off the bracket, so it still has a very original look. Most people won't even notice that this has been done. They just know it looks nice. It's one of those things. Here's my back fender. You know, I finished off my bottom here, all around the tail light and everything looks good. You know, there's not really much else I can say. You know, it's you know, 600 wet. When I come back on camera, I'll have this all sanded, and then we'll just figure out what we're going to tape out. So pretty much I'll sand it, I'll tape out whatever design it is. We'll mask off anything we want it to remain black, and then we'll apply our secondary colors, whether it's one color, two color, whatever. We'll see.